I've been planning to share this video with you for a long time. In this video, we're going to discuss how to best trade Bitcoin during this bull market phase. I'm going to talk with you different approaches, different strategies to help you develop a plan going into this bull market phase to best maximize your potential return. Now, this video is very important to me. I've been planning it for a long time. And as you all know, I've been saying until we reach 14,000, there's no urgency to get it out. This morning, we actually did touch 14,000. Now is the time to share this with all of you. I have been over the past year since this channel started a year ago. By the way, we started this channel a year ago, and during the course of this year, have grown it almost to 60,000 subscribers. What a beautiful place and community this is. I am grateful for each and every one of you. By the way, this is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. I have prepared a playlist over this past year, a very important playlist, which uniquely discusses the cycle of Bitcoin. By the way, starting with this video right here, Bitcoin trading for beginners, a simple and effective strategy. I say for beginners because it's so easy that anyone could follow it, but it is a masterful strategy and one that could produce an enormous accumulation of Bitcoin. Now, what else do we have to say over here? It's a big deal at this particular time to be adding a new video over here. It's an important part of the cycle. By the way, when I talk about cycle, this chart right here, I think everyone is familiar with. This is the chart I opened up with. This is the chart of Bitcoin on a log scale. This is one of the most important charts in all of finance. These blue lines over here represent the halving of the miner's reward over here. Bitcoin trades around this event. This is a 4-year cycle over here. It happens every 4 years. And this causes two things. It causes a spike in Bitcoin, which is called the bull market phase. And then after, it causes a bear market phase, which is about 85% drawdown from the highs before we start reaccumulating to the next halving and then really start this bull market phase again. I want you to notice, and this happens over and over again, I want you to see where we are right now. We are right over here trading just about 14,000. Look where we were last time. We are getting close, and it will really get pronounced towards the end of the first quarter of 2021 through 2021. We're going to see and experience this parabolic phase that's coming up on Bitcoin. And when I say it's still early, before I get started over here, I'm going to talk about one very important thing with you. And when I say it's still early, what I mean is that anything under 20,000 Bitcoin, in my opinion, is cheap Bitcoin. Now, anything under 30,000 is still a good investment. It's too soon to make any price predictions about during the bear market phase what the low of Bitcoin will be. We'll be able to do that after the high is in and make some assessments. Right now, the best guesstimate I could give you is about 30,000, which is why I say that it's still a good opportunity for this coming phase over here. But over here right now, when you're talking about 13, 14,000 Bitcoin, in my opinion, that is still cheap. Now, if anyone is looking, because a lot of people are, the question comes up almost daily, before I get into how to best trade the Bitcoin bull market phase, let me talk about whether or not this is a good time to buy Bitcoin. Okay, couple of rules of thumbs over here. You have to expect at any particular time, there could be a 30% drawdown or more on Bitcoin. If you're buying Bitcoin now at market and Bitcoin trades all the way down to this, but I'm not going to get into too much technicals over here today. If you get into this area of support over here around 9,700, right, that would be expected right now buying Bitcoin at 13,750. You would have to be able to expect, and you have to expect multiple of them. By the way, I want to share with you right now over here, during the last bull market phase, we had multiple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 30% drawdowns. They call it the bull of all bulls for a reason. The volatility is such that to the upside, it also causes drawdowns to the downside. And I notice a lot of people recently, when we had a 20% drawdown, we had a really hard time taking that. That was only a 20% drawdown. That was a warm-up for what is coming. However, I want you to know your risks before you step in to buy. If you're looking to buy or accumulate Bitcoin, it's just nature that people are looking for a pullback before they buy. As that pullback comes, people are too frightened to buy. This is the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to get you to develop your mindset so during the bull market phase, you already have a strategy in place. And I'm going to lay out multiple strategies for you so that you could discern which is the best for you. But if you go into it and you don't have a plan in place as it's happening in real time, and when I say a plan that you fully know and understand. Because otherwise, why it's happening in real time, the normal tendencies of traders, of investors, of fear and greed kick in, and you're going to end up on the wrong side over here. There's so much potential during these next 11, 12, 9 months that I want everyone to have the advantage of being able to profit and maximize their profit for potential. So right now, whether or not you're discerning whether or not you want to buy Bitcoin, I just want to reiterate a few different things. First of all, if you wanted to buy Bitcoin over here and as price pulled back 20%, and if you thought price was at that point going much lower and or crashing and were unable to pull the trigger, realize that right now as well. Okay? I've been saying the whole time as Bitcoin was at 10,500, and Bitcoin was at 11,000. I don't care if Bitcoin's at 11,000. I don't care if it's at 12,000. I don't care if it's at 9,000 or 13,000. To me, it's all cheap Bitcoin. Now, I have a price target of Bitcoin. I have a price target of Bitcoin coming in at $140,000 during this bull market phase. You could see over here at what price will you sell your Bitcoin during the next bull cycle. Now, I didn't just arbitrarily pick that number out of a hat. And by the way, I do happen to think there's a strong possibility we overshoot it to the upside. However, I like to set targets that I believe that I could meet and achieve. All right. Now, by the way, before I go any further, these videos, in my opinion, are absolutely a great tool for your knowledge base. They really, in a unique way, lay out the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin. I think it's essential understanding and learning for everyone who's considering an investment in Bitcoin. Now, before we go any further, right now we were talking about is now a good time to buy Bitcoin. I want you to understand a couple of things. Number one, we are right here in the cycle, right towards the top of that blue circle, right? Now, I'm not trying to say that the past, because something happened in the past, that it's going to happen in the future. At all. All I'm saying is that Bitcoin is programmed monetary policy. It does rhyme. There are patterns. I'm able to really see tendencies. I'm really able to spot market patterns and use them as an advantage to profit off of. I want to share that with you right now. So if you're thinking, listen, do I want to wait for a pullback? It's quite possible. Not only could we have a 30% pullback at all time, and that we could see something like $9,500 Bitcoin in the coming weeks even. We have a presidential election about to come up. It's a possibility. It's an enormous risk event for the markets. If it's a contested election, there's no question Bitcoin at this point in time is not a safe haven asset. It's quite possible there could be a near-term sell-off. Now, that's not guaranteed. If you look at simply what's going on in the market right now, that's not where we're at. And why I say that, if you look at the last time in the past that Bitcoin broke its monthly close over here in the past, if you look at the last time that Bitcoin broke past its monthly close in the past of the all-time high, you could see over here it was only 38 days before it went on to make a new all-time high. Now, this one is outside of the cycle. Nevertheless, you could see the same thing occurred over here. This one was 38 days. This one was 23 days. The last one only happened to be 4 days. And here we are right now. This morning, we actually broke. We printed 14,000. We took out that last monthly close over here. What all-time close? What does that mean? Is it probable that sometime roughly in the next 30 days, we're making a new all-time high on Bitcoin? Why, it is possible. Now I want to talk about this over here. This is my Bitcoin price prediction for 2020, and I have it at $18,000. The reason I do that is for multiple reasons. First of all, like I said, when I have the $140,000 price target on Bitcoin, I like to set goals that I believe that I can meet and achieve. If Bitcoin's trading above 18,000 in December, do I consider that this was a success? It's almost impossible to make price predictions in the markets. Bitcoin is different Bitcoin is programmable money. It is math. So that's why I feel comfortable making these type of predictions. Again, I do make predictions that I believe I can meet. Talk about programmable money. Notice this over here as we start getting into this. Over here, you could see this is over here the low of the market cycle. When I talk about market cycles, I'm talking about these blue lines every 4 years when the miner's halving reward is cut into half. Again, on my channel, on that Bitcoin playlist, are videos that really go over that and explain it to you so that you can understand it very well. Over here, this is the low, when I say low, the price low of Bitcoin into the halving. In this case, it took 375 days. If you take approximately 2% less, then you have the high during the bull market phase of Bitcoin. That didn't happen once. It happened again over here, 539 days from the cycle low, price point low, into the halving, approximately 2% less. That was the high. Here we are now in real time. This past cycle low to the halving was 513 days, approximately 2% less. That puts us at around September the 21st, 2021 of where we could expect a cycle high. That is not the only indicator I will use. And by the way, I will be here to help you. That will be one of my next videos on this playlist. When I'm exiting and why, you could follow us. We do live stream Monday through Friday every day at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern time in the morning. As well as on this channel, I update everyone in the afternoon, Monday through Thursday. I will be using an indicator like this pi cycle you could find on lookingintobitcoin.com. This over here in the past has given, as these two cross over here, has given one of the best exits, not just in this cycle as well, over here, the previous one before that, it is giving one of the best exits that I've been able to find. I won't be trying to get out at the top of the cycle. I don't think that's possible. If I could get out within 25%, I think I'm a hero. And again, I have a $140,000 price target, setting targets that I believe that are achievable, but I will do my best to get us out. And this thing could overshoot by far. If we see $280,000 in this cycle, I would not be surprised at all. Nevertheless, that's not what this video is about. This video is about how to best trade this bull market phase, and I just wanted to go out and lay out some things. One other thing that I do want to lay out to you when I talk about Bitcoin is programmable money, that it is math. You can see over here at the bottom, the scale over here, these different colors, these are how many more months to the next halving, okay? For example, when we're in this red area over here, we have 45 more months to the next halving. When we're in this yellow area over here, we have approximately 27, 28 more months. This dark green area is 15 more months. I want you to see over here where you look at these dark green circles, these happen to be the cycle low occurring 15 months into the next halving. Again, it's programmable money. Bitcoin is math. This is what I'm basing all of this off of. This is the opportunity right over here as we're just you're still early if you're watching this and you don't have a Bitcoin position. Bitcoin is still cheap right now. Now that will soon run out. That when I say that will run out, I mean as we just looked at possibly something occurring within the next possibly 30 days. We could be making new all-time high on Bitcoin. Once we pass 20,000 on Bitcoin, I don't necessarily think Bitcoin is cheap anymore. And as we pass 30,000, no longer is it cheap, but there's still plenty of opportunity when you're talking about 140,000 plus price target. Right now, though, you're looking at over a 10x on Bitcoin. So whether or not you buy Bitcoin right now at 14,000, whether you buy it at 10,000, 12,000, that's almost irrelevant from my vantage point, from my point of view, but do expect at any point to have a 30% pullback on Bitcoin, and also be aware that we could be entering a period over here of sharp volatility to the upside, which could have you continuing looking to be able to buy in at a lower price, and that might only force you to buy in at a higher price. Keep that in your mind right now as we talk about this part of what this video is essentially about over here, how to trade the bull market phase. And I want to give you, by looking at the last bull market over here, this is the bull market phase over here, I want to give you a little bit of a primer by looking at what happened over here. And I don't think the same thing is going to happen at all. but I think there will be a lot of similarities. And this right here is the best thing we could use to go ahead and prepare ourselves for the coming bull market. Remember, there are a lot of similarities when it comes to Bitcoin that happen and repeat themselves over and over and over again. Now, what you're looking at over here in these red boxes, you're looking at every time there was a 30% drawdown on Bitcoin. Now, there happened to be several of them during this bull market cycle. I don't know whether or not we will see several this coming bull market cycle. And I also don't know whether or not they will be 30% drawdowns. There are thoughts that the drawdowns will be less. Okay, listen, it's always different. What's different about this cycle is right now you have a couple of things happening. You have public companies going ahead and they're using Bitcoin as a reserve asset. MicroStrategy is one example where they just bought $450 million of Bitcoin as a reserve asset. And by the way, they're already up $100 million on that investment. Now we had Square go ahead and purchase $50 million of Bitcoin. Both of these companies have set an example for other public companies. They've given guidelines for other boards to be able to go through the process to do them themselves. You have now public companies here accumulating Bitcoin. And by the way, they don't announce it first and then accumulate. They're accumulating at this moment, and there will be in the future other releases of companies who have now begun this race. Also, we had last week the Central Bank of Iran. This is a new cycle over here. We also will have an enormous amount of institutions and funds such as Paul Tudor Jones who have taken positions in Bitcoin. It's happening before our eyes. What I want to focus on right now on these 30% drawdowns. Okay, this is what I want to focus on. This line over here, by the way, this line I have is the last all-time high. Okay, so I'm going to focus on a couple of things over here. For this line over here of $11,052, $1,152, that was the last all-time high on Bitcoin. Okay, that was over here during this past market cycle. Now, one other side note. I'm not going to get into that in this video right now, but just a side note, the reason I have this line over here, when we come back down towards the 15-month area where it's time for us to reaccumulate Bitcoin, that will be a video after we're exiting Bitcoin and why, right? I'm not going to sell Bitcoin over here. I'm not going to be selling Bitcoin on the way down, but I'll be looking to reaccumulate at the right time. I also just want you to be aware, we had this 300% price increase. It didn't just happen over there. It also happened over here. We had a 230% price increase. That's a tradable event. We'll talk about that in the future. I want to focus on what's in front of us right now. This is over here, how to trade the bull market phase. Now, I talked about whether or not now is a good time to buy Bitcoin, as it's right around $14,000, right? Look, you have two options. You either buy now here at market. You're trying to buy a little lower. Maybe we hit 12,000. Right? Maybe we have a 30% pullback, or you're going to see price continue to rise. And we looked at this particular time, and now that it's taken out 14,000 and the possibility of it starting to rise in the next 30 days and maybe even take out the new all-time high by the end of the year is possible. That's not my base case. It's completely possible. You might be buying Bitcoin back at a higher price, than it is now. I do think now is cheap Bitcoin, by the way. I want to focus on these 30% drawdowns. There's two different ways to trade this bull market cycle. The volatility here is immense. It's to the upside. Also downside, don't forget, I pointed out to you just recently when we had a 20% drawdown on Bitcoin, how that was for a lot of traders too much pain. That was a lot of pain for too many traders. And if you were one of them, maybe either you need to lighten up your Bitcoin position or you need to kind of reprogram your brain and understand that was only a 20% pullback. We could have a 30% pullback and or greater. By the way, we had a 40% pullback during that last bull market over here. Could we have a 40 or even 50% pullback? Absolutely. 30% is what I'm putting as the average over here. What I'm trying to paint into your head right now is that it's massively difficult to go ahead and trade this bull market phase. massively difficult to hold through it. I'm not talking about leveraged Bitcoin. I'm talking about Bitcoin itself. Now, a year from now, anyone who traded this successfully, they're going to walk into a room and everyone's going to think that, first of all, they're a genius for getting Bitcoin before everyone else. And they're also going to think that it was very easy. There's nothing easy about it whatsoever. There's nothing easy about about this whatsoever. You ever seen have you ever seen that meme of the roller coaster on Bitcoin, of what it's like to hold Bitcoin through the bull market phase? It is a roller coaster. A 30% drawdown, a 40% drawdown is nothing to take lightly at all, as well as when you're talking about just over here, neither is a $3,500% increase. It is a roller coaster. Have a respect for the markets. Have a huge respect for this bull market over here. Now, there's two different ways to approach this. There's two different ways to approach the bull market over here. There's three different ways. The first and probably the easiest, although there's nothing easy about it, will simply be holding Bitcoin from wherever you are today. I'm not going to put us at the all-time high. We're right now at 14,000, which right over here is more or less right around this area over here. $950 Bitcoin. You could either hold Bitcoin, and then as we look to exit, and I showed you, we'll work that together. We have a couple of dates. We have a couple of indicators. We'll be able to get out as close as possible. Not trying to pick the top, but as close as we can to the top, right? Let's say you got out over here at $15,000 Bitcoin, and let's say that you just bought in now, relative to this last cycle, that you hadn't already accumulated into Bitcoin. That's still a 1,500% return in less than a year. For a lot of people, that is simply the best way to trade this upcoming bull market. For a lot of people, this is simply the best way to trade this Bitcoin bull market cycle. That is an enormous increase on your capital. Now, by the way, you'll also then get to reaccumulate down towards the low. 15 months to the next Bitcoin. Watch the channel. If you're not yet subscribed, do subscribe. We'll get everyone accumulated back in, and you'll be able to do that all over again, and not just do that all over again. Now you'll be looking from the cycle low, right? Now you'd be going from the cycle low. That would have been a what? A 9,000% increase. All right. Time. You have to time. Time is on your side. You can't be in a rush. You just want to do things right. Okay. Number two. That's one way. That's the easiest way. For some people, it's the best way, though. The second best way is doing that exact same thing, except every time there's a 30% pullback on Bitcoin, you then add to your position. Now, as we get to, let's say if we're targeting 140,000, and do understand that's just a goal that I think we can meet. It's an achievable goal. Go onto the Bitcoin playlist. Look at why I say that. Through math, why I say what price will you sell your Bitcoin. See how I get to 140,000 and why. What does that mean? That means as we cross, say, $70,000, $80,000, at that point we're no longer going to be looking to increase our position on a 30% drawdown. Okay, that would be up into $70,000, $80,000 Bitcoin. As it's happening in real time, I'll be updating everybody. Okay, this is a plan going into this bull market phase. You have to have a plan in place before it happens in real time. Otherwise, as you have this little 20% drawdown over here, little 20% drawdown, and that's what it is. That was just a little drawdown. I know that was too much for a lot of people. I'm in constant contact with all sorts of traders. This was too much for a lot of people. And not only that, you had many people thinking the stock market's crashing and Bitcoin's going back down to $6,000. Now, right here, as Bitcoin was at 10,000, people were like, Jordan, do you still have your price target of 18,000 for Bitcoin at the end of the year? We're in September, Jordan. And absolutely. And I said, listen, October, the historical average return of Bitcoin is 30%. In November, it's 60%. Do I think we could go from 10,000 to 18,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year? Of course I do. What happened in October? We're up 40%. All right. So where are we at right now? Coming back to this. coming back to this over here. This is the second way to approach it, is simply you're holding, trying to get out, not at the top. Do not try to get out the top of the Bitcoin. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck holding and hoping. And these market fears, everyone's familiar with the Wall Street market cycle, psychological cycle of a trade. You're going to be hoping, it's going to come back, hoping, and you're going to carry this all the way down 85%. Do not, for right now, get it in your head. Sit down, talk to yourself. You're not trying to pick the top on Bitcoin. You're trying to achieve an elegant, beautiful trade over here around the cycle. Number two is every time there's a 30% drawdown, you're looking to go ahead and add to your position. Number three, and this is the most difficult. The one we're going to talk about now is the most difficult. A lot of people, and by the way, I'm not going to get into it in this video. I thought maybe I would. I'm not going to talk about it. I've tried everything possible. I happen to be quite skilled as a price action trader. 20 years, more than 20 years trading full time. Everyone that's familiar with my work, they know that I happen to be quite skilled when it comes to technical analysis and price action. I cannot find an ideal way to exit here during these top of these cycles. And I'm going to show you what I found to be the best guide I've come up with. Because a lot of people are programmed, by the way, they want to, like, if I could sell over here and then buy back lower, I could make more money. Listen, that's absolutely true. The third way is the most difficult. The first way is the easiest. The second way is probably for most of you the best as far as maximizing your profit potential. And the third way obviously has the most profit potential, but is the hardest. Okay? So a lot of you, the way that you think about this is not the way that I pointed out the first way about simply riding that, holding it. And that's the best way for most of you watching this video. Okay? The second way should be clear as day to you why that makes sense. 30% drawdown, add to your position. The third way is the way that most of you think about it. You're looking where you could sell your Bitcoin. By the way, as we were over here, some of you should have learned how difficult it is to time Bitcoin because a lot of people over here were looking for much higher prices on Bitcoin. We had the 20% drawdown and they got shook out, right? It's not easy to trade it as it's happening in real time. Now, a lot of people, the way that they look to approach this is I want to sell my Bitcoin and buy back lower. Not hold their position and add to it. That's much easier. They want to sell their Bitcoin and buy back into it. First of all, a lot of people who sell their Bitcoin, because even watch right now as we come over here, as we break 14,000, right? As we come up and maybe we hit 15, 16,000 Bitcoin, a lot of people are going to sell their Bitcoin. A lot of people will sell their Bitcoin trying to time this and figuring if Bitcoin pulls back to 12,000 or 14,000, they could accumulate more Bitcoin. And then there's the possibility that not only do we take out the new all-time high or test it, that we do blow through it and we trade up to 23,000 Bitcoin. Normal human behavior, it got away from me. I sold at 16,000. It's going to 30,000. I got to buy it here. They buy their Bitcoin at $23,000 and then Bitcoin has its first 30% pullback coming down to 16. They're like, oh no, Bitcoin's now going back down to 12. They sell their Bitcoin. Bitcoin, that was the low. They're buying. Do not try to time the market unless you're an expert or Bitcoin's going to leave you behind. There's going to be volatile price swings and they're going to be to the upside. It's very difficult. Now, there is one way that I have found if you're looking to go ahead and try to time it and sell to the top. Let me present that to you right now over here. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm laying out different scenarios, 3 different scenarios for you to be able to go ahead and trade this bull market phase. You have to discern which one is the best for you. Now, when you're making that decision, make that decision now, not as it's happening in real time. Otherwise, the normal market emotions are going to overwhelm you. Okay? You're not different than anyone else. Know thyself. Know thy enemy. Know thyself. Right? self perspective is absolutely essential as a trader over here. And if you think that your ability is greater than it actually is, the market is going to humble you. Okay. Now over here, I want you to look at over here. This is the low point of these blue lines that I have over here. These are starting at the low point of that pullback. Okay, that's where that's starting from. Now you can see over here, this is over here, $1,152. This is where we started making the new all-time high. This drawdown and this one occurred before we made the new all-time high. Okay, this one is separate. Now the reason I'll come back to this one in a moment. I'm going to be starting this after we've made a new all-time high on Bitcoin. This will be after we traded above $19,500. And then we have the first 30% pullback. Okay, you go to the low of that 30% pullback. In this case over here, you could see I go to the high, right? What is that? That is 170%. Okay, now before I get into what I'm looking at, I want to go to the next one over here. You can see the low of the next 30% drawdown. We had a 30% drawdown. I could just go like this for all of you wondering. I could just move it to this low over here. It's the same thing, but then we had a little bit of a high and then another 40% drawdown. I'm going to the lower low of the two. No big deal. It's the same exact thing. Again, we have 170% gain over here before the next swing high. I'll call it a swing high. Again, over here, I'm taking the low of the next 30% drawdown. Over here, there's 160%. Notice it's under 170. Okay, I'll get back to that in 1 second. And then over here, the next one, this was also 160. So what I'm trying to distinguish over here is what percentage off of the 30% drawdown low after Bitcoin's making new all-time highs could I sell in order then to look for a 30% drawdown to accumulate at a lower price. Notice each one of these. And by the way, I wouldn't use 170% and I wouldn't use 160%. I would use something that's safe, probably 150%. Right? By the way, notice that each time if I would have sold over here, that I would have been able to buy back Bitcoin at a significantly lower price. Right? Go over here and say, I'm buying Bitcoin back 20% lower. On this one over here, if I sell over here, right? And then I buy Bitcoin during the 30% low, just call it a 35% increase that I would have been able to do it. What about on the next one? Same thing. I'm selling at the high. I'm buying back lower. I'm selling at the high over here. Where's my 30% drawdown? Up. That would have been, by the way, this last one over here. And again, we're using our exit for multiple indicators, including what I showed you over here, the cycle pi, the pi cycle. It'll also be timing, right? Timing, how many more months to the next halving. It'll also be this over here. When I showed you this over here, when I showed you approximately September the 21st, right? So what happens if I exited using this methodology over here at the top? If I got at $15,000 Bitcoin, 25% off the high, in my opinion, I would have been a hero. That's a fantastic exit on Bitcoin. I'm not trying to get out at the high. I'm trying to get out at the most profitable opportune opportunity. That's the next video. We don't need to talk about that right now. We'll have updates as we have these 30% drawdowns, how we're playing it, maybe as we have these exits and what I'm doing. But this will be a big video on when I'm finally exiting this trade and the trade is over for the bull market. Then the next thing I'll be talking about is when I'm accumulating back during the bull market phase. So this is another way that you can play it. I think that we don't know, first of all, two variables. We do not know whether or not we're going to have 30% drawdowns. Is it possible this cycle, by the way, if this is kind of throwing you off over here, the fact that we did have a 20% drawdown over here? My opinion is this. Because of this anomaly over here, this was the liquidity crisis, which put in not only a far greater drawdown than expected than Bitcoin, I think that this drawdown over here was less because of it. Okay? So I'm expecting 30% drawdowns. Those are my actionable signals. Whether or not on the upside we're going to have 170 or 160 percent gains before I would look to sell, I don't know. I'm probably going to go with something a lot safer. 150%, right? 150%, and then look for the 30% drawdowns. Now, would I do that with my entire position? Absolutely not. You always run the risk of being left behind. You always run the risk of Bitcoin being Bitcoin and having these large parabolic moves, and I don't want to sell out too early. Would I do it with 25% or 30% of my tradable Bitcoin position? Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't do what is best for myself, right? Do what's best for you. Again, I talked about there's three different options. Either you buy it and hold it, exiting at the top, and by the way, then you wait until the bear cycle low, start accumulating in, and whether you have that one tradable event with me, I'll walk you through that one, or you just look to hold it through the top of the next bull market cycle, you could accumulate serious wealth just doing that alone. You have the second option of trading the 30% pullbacks where you look to accumulate further. That is absolutely a solid strategy over there. And then you have the third option of looking for an exit. The best exit that I could give anyone is what I showed you over here, selling between 150, 160% off the low if you get that opportunity, and then looking to reaccumulate after that 30% drawdown. Now, I would not do that with your full position. You do run the risk of getting left behind. It's risky. Investments are risky, right? So you have to discern for yourself which of the three options that you're going to go with. Are you going with the safest, number one? Are you going with probably the most, let's not say safest, number one's the safest. Are you going with the most secure, offering the most profit potential? Or are you going with number three, which is actually the most difficult, the hardest to do, but offers by far the greatest profit for potential? That's for you to decide. I know what I'm going to do. Everyone, this was a pleasure to share with you. I hope you learned something. If you did, please go ahead and share this with someone else. I've received on Twitter, by the way, over the past couple of weeks, some of the most beautiful comments from you all, including one of them that in your opinion, I happen to be the most important invisible voice in Bitcoin. Obviously, I'm not a Bitcoin influencer, right? That's not what I do. I'm here to conquer and trade the markets. That's what we do together every day. The equity markets, right? Gold, silver, right? Bitcoin, and primarily the currency markets. Now, I happen to have a great love for Bitcoin. I'm happy to add to the conversation. I do know many people who have been following our channel, right? Who have been subscribed to that channel, that this playlist has been their first introduction over this past year to Bitcoin. It's helped them go further down that rabbit hole and to just gain a fantastic understanding of Bitcoin. And I'm grateful for that. This video was very important for me in that it's one that's added to this playlist at the right time. I hope it's helpful for a lot of you in navigating this bull market phase that we are just entering. Right? Now everyone knows that's following this channel as well, right? And if you're new here, welcome. Everyone knows that right over here, when we broke that trend line, that's when I called the bull market. And since we've had that breakout, that retest, and now we're resuming off. We're about to hit that next stage over here, a breakout over here, right? And I also said to everyone, right, we had that Heath line over here. Let me pull it up just so everyone is really keenly aware of it. We had over here, that red line over here. We call it the Heath line. Heath says once we get above it, we're going to start. He's right? He's completely right. Look at this over here. Now, we did have the one caveat, is that not only do we got to cross above there, because this is our edge. This is what separates conquering trading and investing almost from everywhere else, every other channel on the internet. It's just our technical analysis game. It's unique and it's strong. And we said that one caveat is that we got to break above that resistance line over there. You could see this morning that we tested that resistance. A lot of traders were just focused right over there. Heath not included. Heath is obviously with us. And then we said the one caveat is that we also got to break above that resistance line right over there. That comes off this prime resistance line, which we've cloned and will use on the way up to provide us a bit of guidance as we start making these higher and higher highs. Now, once we break above here and clear above here, that's when the party's getting started. If you're watching this video, you are right on time. All right, everyone. Thanks for everything, and I'll talk to you soon.